today I'm joined by Carl, who loves all things quality management, having lived and breathed it for many years previously to working with us at TVT. So the purpose of today is to go through quality management, explain a bit the concepts. I'm going to go through an example of what you might, how you might use it with in a warehouse environment, and then I'll show you some of the setup and questions and answers at the end. So please feel free to type anything in the Q&A section on the Teams meeting, and Nikki will point them out and interrupt us at any point. That's fine with any questions. But just to talk a little bit about quality management to begin with, it's really a way of, if you have inventory, of pulling out particular bits of inventory, obviously checking them with any test that you need, and then put it back into inventory, either with a pass or a fail, or doing something with that pass or fail. The inspections are triggered from transactions on the kind of the inventory side of the system. So purchase receipts, anything in production, assembly, any warehouse movements, if you're running the WMS in the software, they can all trigger something to happen from a quality point of view. The quality themselves are run on tests. So you select or you create your tests, and they can be lots of different types, which we'll have a look at in a second. But effectively, you set them up and then they either pass or fail. And a collection of tests is an inspection. You can block lot numbers, block specific parts of stock. So if you're testing it, you don't want anyone to take the stock, or you want to move it somewhere, you can easily do that in the software. And then you can decide to scrap the stock, destroy it, or put it back into just general inventory. Most of the scenarios that come with the Microsoft environment, the testing environment, work with the WMS in the system. So they kind of expect warehousing lot numbers or serial numbers, because that's kind of where it makes the most sense. But you don't have to have your own warehouse to do this. And hopefully at the end, we can talk a bit about that. You can, if you're using a third-party warehouse, use the inspections as a trigger to notify them of something you want them to do, and at the same time manage from your point of view what happens to that particular piece of stock while it's being tested. And then the nice feature is that it works with workflow. So the inspections, when you create them, when they pass, they fail, you can then hook that up into workflows in the software to trigger other things happening. And in the demo that I've got, hopefully I'll show you that that workflow happening. So the kind of the top level way of thinking about this is that it adds a layer to the existing software. So we're all used to inventory, warehousing, purchasing, and sales. They operate exactly as they do now. There's no real difference in how those operate. Quality management adds a layer on top of that that is triggered by those documents. Stock goes off into quality management. The software knows that something's happening from a quality point of view. Quality does its thing, and then the result of that puts stuff back into the standard purchasing or sales or warehousing. So that's the inspections, the tests, the criteria, and that kind of workflow automation. The templates define what the tests are, what sort of logic they have, what's allowed, what's not allowed. And the results of those templates, the pass or the fail, then triggers workflows and what happens next in the software. So my worked example for today is going to be, we're running our own warehouse with items that are lot tracked. We are going to decide that we need to quality check either a unit or a parcel of stock, and that could be, let's say, the quality manager, a colleague in the company, or a customer requests something needs to be quality checked. We're going to identify the stock we want to check, move it into a QC area in the software, and at the same time lock or block the lot number that item has been taken from. So the assumption is we need to check it. We think there's something wrong. We don't want to send in any more of that lot out because something might be wrong with it. The inspection takes place. We test that stock, and we'll go through the different tests that I've set up for this particular demo. They can either be a pass or a fail or comments, and we'll see that in a second. And then in my scenario, everything passes, everything's happy. And when we notify the quality inspection that it's passed, or when we finish it to confirm it's passed, the stock is unblocked. So we're saying it's okay, we can carry on selling it, we can carry on doing stuff with that lot number, and the stock will go back into general population. Our test stock, in my scenario, will go back into general population. It could be destroyed if your environment is that it's a destructive test. Okay, let's go into the software and have a look. So my scenario starts with someone telling the warehouse that we want to do a test on some stock. So that typically would be managed by a movement worksheet. So the movement worksheet effectively is telling someone that internally I want to move some stock from the general population of stock into a QC area. So here's one I prepared earlier for 2 ceiling lights. We're picking it from general stock. We're saying we want to put it into the QC area. And you'll see here that we have, or I've created a number of different QC areas, because you might have different areas for different things. Some might be a lab, some might be offsite, some might be a photography center that you're doing stuff with. My one is I'm checking the general condition of the stock. So I'm going to move it into my condition area. So this is really just telling the warehouse that they need to move some stock. So this is part of the...
I think what's really nice about this as well, Claudio, is that this removes a lot of the friction. So typically when you were asking a warehouse to do something, there might be a number of emails exchanged, so you might have to pick up the phone, you might be Teamsing. This is automating all of that, and it's keeping it within BC itself, which is a really nice feature, I think.
Yeah, there's no need for an Excel spreadsheet on the side that says this stock is being checked, or potentially just losing the stock. I've heard of some warehouses where they just literally go to the bin, take the stock, move it into another room, and no one knows it's there, and then it's only when it's put back that anyone can find the stock. So this keeps it all sensible in the software. So if I say okay, and it'll create a movement, number 18. So far we haven't done anything specific about quality. We've just told the software we need to move the stock. And this is the taking the place for that movement in that warehouse. And this is where the triggers in the quality management kick in. So I've set up telling the software that when we move stock into a QC zone and this particular bin, I want to create a quality inspection for it. So the fact that I am now moving this into that QC area will create the quality inspection. So if I say yes to that, that's a standard movement. Someone with a forklift will go out, move the stock. And if I go into the easiest place to see it is probably the quality manager's role center. If I open all the open quality inspections, we'll see we've got the top 2 here, which are the 2 that have just been created for this particular movement. So if I go into one, and this is what the inspection looks like. So effectively, the header is the inspection type, obviously the unique number, product code, the lot number, anything that identifies that particular piece of stock, the status, and the kind of the progress that we are making on this. You can assign it to an individual if you've got a team of people, but the nitty gritty is down here at the bottom is the actual tests themselves. So we'll go into I'll show you the tests specifically once we've finished the demo. But the point is here, the user goes through each of these and gives the software the test value or the result of each of these tests. So some of them are lookups. So this one here, I'm asking the user or the guy in the warehouse to say, is it damaged or not? And then in the setup, you tell it which one of these is a pass. So if I say it's heavily damaged, you'll see that the result is a fail on that. And then I won't be able to finish or complete and put the stock back into the general population, but I'm going to say it's undamaged. Sometimes the results are just a number. So I'm going to say there's just a bottle that I'm testing here. The pack weight, decimal, I can put the weight I'm recording. Is the label correct and readable? So this is a yes or no. This one is a nice one. This can link into the actual item details itself. So what I'm asking here is to confirm that the product that's being tested is actually lighting. So I've created this test specifically for lighting products. There's a filter in the setup. So here, for example, if by accident someone had given me a desk, I can say desk, and you'll see that's a fail because the software is expecting a lighting. So that you can use that with any type of table that's linked to the item as a way of checking that the thing that's being tested matches the product that's being created from. Additional comments? All good. If you want just some general text, and then you can, here I've got just a yes or no, has an image been taken? So if you've got a tablet or a mobile phone, you can take a picture. I thought you could take it. You can take it. Okay, permissions aren't letting me take a picture, but you should be able to take a picture. And then the picture is recorded here on the side against the quality as a record, as a history of what that image was when you did the inspection. If you want to take multiple pictures, you take lots of pictures and attach them to the inspection rather than just take the one picture, and then that will store as kind of an audit of the inspection and the pictures that you took. I'm going to cheat and say that I did take the picture. So now my quality inspection, everything is passed. And you can see here that the result is passed, but it's still open. I might then, for example, want to come here and print a certificate of analysis, which is effectively detailed from the inspection itself and each of the lines with the result. And in this particular case, we've got something we can print out and sign. There are other reports that effectively kind of a similar thing. The inspection report does a very similar thing. If I click on that, that's more
what I really like about these templates, the tests and the documents that you're outputting as well, is that they're consistent. There's no sort of differences between versions. So if you've got a team of quality controllers, you're getting the same outputs. You can prescribe the tests, and you're certain that everything, if you're completing a test with one controller and a test with another controller, there's a level of consistency there across the board, which is really a really good thing. I think I really like that.
Yeah, and the audits against all of these are throughout the system. So when you do find entries on a particular piece of stock or a particular movement, if the inspection has been done with that movement, with that stock movement, find entries will find the fact that that stock movement had a quality inspection linked to it. The other nice thing is on the lot number. So we have a lot here, 1002. If I go to lot number information, so this is kind of the main area you would go to look at for all lot numbers in the history. You'll see that that's the lot number, and it knows that an inspection has been done. So my result is pass. You'll notice that it's blocked. That's because it's in the process of being inspected. We'll come back to this in a second, and you'll see that when I finish the inspection, it'll have unblocked it so that I can carry on and potentially sell some of that stock. So that's how you manage the inspection. And to finish the inspection, you go to finish. Just check, so you're sure you want to do that, and you say yes. And in the workflow that I've set up in the past or in the background, what I've told the software to do when it passes is to create a worksheet entry where it's going to try and move the stock back into the general population. So that, again, triggers just a standard warehouse movement that someone goes in and finishes. And it's unblocked the lot number. So again, it's really nice that you can see what it's doing, what that workflow is doing against the quality inspection. And again, if I open up the lot number here, you'll see that now, whereas before it was blocked, now it's unblocked. And it then knows that it's part of that quality inspection. In fact, this one, I've probably been playing around with this a bit. I've actually done 2 inspections on this lot. So it keeps a nice audit, a history of whenever you wanted to test something against a product on this particular lot. So go back from here. So that's the inspection finished. And if I go back here to my quality inspections.
We do have a couple of questions in the chat quickly. Does this work on handheld scanners, either in the BC app or on Tasklet?
That's a good question. I did have a look this morning and I couldn't find out if Tasklet directly lets you manage inspections. It obviously will let you do the warehouse movements and generate the inspection from just registering a warehouse movement, but I will find out if Tasklet has direct screens to do this.
And is there an automation that will send an email to the stock control team to inform them that they want the item to be quality checked?
Not as far as I know. I think the idea would be that these tiles here is the notification that an inspection has appeared. What you could do, let me have a look. So if I go back in here to this inspection, you could assign it to someone here. So the manager could assign it to someone, and that could trigger maybe an email, but not directly from the software. We'd have to do some automation. Power Automate perhaps could then trigger that email.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry, go back to my quality inspections. So to full list. So this one here, you'll see it says finished and passed with all kind of the audits that you'll need. And if you drill into it, any pictures will be saved against it. The results of the test. If it needs to be retested, you can create a re-inspection, and it basically creates a version 2 that you can then do the same test against. Or if you need to reopen it to add some extra pictures or documents, maybe you've got some lab documents you want to attach next to it, you can store them against the inspection even after it's finished and completed. So the last bit in my run through of my particular demo is if I go back into my movement worksheets and a specific worksheet for the quality inspections. The fact that that inspection passed, it unblocked the lot, and then it created a line here for that particular lot number and quantity, and it's asking me now, where do I want to put this back into stock? If I click on here and do line item tracking lines, it automatically added the lot numbers that movement is for. The one I did is probably that one. So lines, there's my lot number. So it all kind of fits together. It's just waiting here for someone to say, yep, I want to put it back into my bulk storage. And the bin, oh, they're all forklifts, they're no good. And then that's processed, given to the warehouse, and then they know to go to the QC area and pick up the stock and put it back into the general population. That's the kind of worked example. So hopefully you can see that it pulls in quite a few different bits of the software, like we were saying before, the layer of inventory and warehousing to create the inspection with those workflows and triggers. You do the inspection, you decide what they all are, and then there's a pass or a fail, and the software, the stock is either then destroyed if you don't want it or put back into stock. Okay. Do we have any questions at the moment, Nikki, or shall I go into the next bit, which is the setup?
Good.
Okay, so I just wanted to go through some of the setup and kind of show you behind the scenes what I did to get this all working. So like I said, the assumption is that we have inventory, we have warehousing set up with lot numbers. This is your own warehouse you're managing, but it doesn't have to be in the real world. So if I go into my quality inspections, role center, it all starts with quality tests. So this is each line on that quality inspection is a test. And these can be for a very specific reason. So you might have a test that's for a specific type of product, for specific time range. And you'll see the examples here are all different types. If I filter or if I sort on the type of inspection, so we've got decimals where the user is expected to put a number in. and the allowable values tells you what's a pass or a fail. You have Boolean, so basically yes or no, and all the pass conditions are yes. You can put some text in where you're just literally asking someone to put a line of text in with some sort of comment about what they found, what they haven't found. Then we get into some kind of more interesting ones where they have specific lookups. So, for example, the one that I was looking at here, the packaging, if I click into that, the allowable values are set up specifically for this test. It's not looking at any data that's already in the software. You put in the values, they can be as many as you like. And then you say here in the conditions, you say which one is the pass condition, so which one is the pass, so effectively the rest are all fails. And then any description you want the user to see when they're doing the test. You might leave that blank so they don't know what a pass is, but it'll be obvious when they put the value in. That's a quite nice one. The other one that I used was the one looking at item categories, that one there. So this is a test I created specifically for my lighting products. So the filters in the background would only use this quality test if the product was a lighting product, because I wanted to make sure that the pass condition was that the user put in that they confirmed that this was a lighting product, and that's why it failed when it wasn't. And this one looks up at any table in the software that you can put some criteria against. So this one, I said item category, looking at the code field, and the pass condition has to be one of the item categories. So these all make up the individual tests that appear on the inspection. And the inspection starts with a template. I go into a template and go into my condition lighting, which is the one I was using as my example. So this is how you build it up, and this is exactly what we were populating before. The red one is just groupings, so that when you produce the report, you can group things if you want people to see things in different groups. And then you put in your tests, and these are all defaulted from the tests that we saw before onto the template lines. So that's the heart of the inspection. But then you can create generation rules, and this is where the triggers start to come in. So for this particular template, I've created, excuse me, a generation rule that says when I do a warehouse movement, so basically the warehouse journal line, the location is white, the items are filtered to my lighting items because I wanted that item category. And when something goes into the QC zone, and that specific area inside the QC zone, because that's the one where I've got my photography set up and so on, that will trigger a quality inspection from a warehouse movement. Oops, sorry, let's go across. When a warehouse movement is registered. So that's the link to the warehouse saying we've moved it, it creates the inspection. There is a wizard that helps you do this. So for example, let's say I want to do a receiving rule rather than a warehouse movement rule. So when something comes into the warehouse, I want to do a similar thing. So from a purchase line, in this scenario, the location, I'm going to say it's white again. You can filter on anything else to do with a receipt. You can add different filters. I'm just going to say it's the white warehouse. You can specify products. So for this one, I'm going to filter on my lighting products or a category of products, or in fact, you can add any filter that you've got available against, in this case, the item. So you might have different tests for single bottles or packs, different costings, different types of products. It's really up to you to put
what I really like about this, Claudio, is the flexibility, and I get quite excited about this because a good chunk of my job was building inspection reports, and my background was soft goods, children's toys, things like that. So you would categorize your items and you would have inspection reports, and across the board you would have a fixed inspection report for a certain type of product. And you can start off really simple with this. It might be that you start off just with one test for a product or a category of products. But I think that for me is the key thing about this is it's incredibly flexible. So you can start off really simple and over time evolve this to tailor to your business's requirements, but it can be also really complex. Those tests and the way that they're built onto the templates and then the way those tests are automatically generated, that's a really nice feature. I really like that.
Yeah, I can see in the real world, you would end up with lots and lots of tests and inspection templates because you want to be quite granular about the different tests you're doing for different types of product, be that an attribute of the product or maybe even the cost of a product. You can just create a new inspection template and then that'll start triggering once you've done your inspection rules. So it's given me a summary here of the rules. So it's for that location, that set of products. And when I finish on the purchase line, when it meets that criteria, if I scroll across, I then need to tell it what happens on the purchase side. Let's scroll across. When a purchase order is received, or it could be when a purchase order is released. It's probably too early for most people, release of a purchase order, but in some environments it might be. My scenario would be more when it's received. You probably wouldn't have these both on the same inspection template. They probably kind of trip over each other, but just as an example of what you can do. Then the last thing I wanted to show you in how I did my setup is if I go to workflows. These are just generic workflows in the software, but there are some specifically for inspections. So I said when quality inspection is created for that location, I want to block the lot. And then this one, when an inspection passes, I want to unblock the lot. And there are some specific criteria you can put in here, like a wizard and kind of predefined workflows that are all designed for templates. So you can navigate your way through those and get the software to do more things rather than just create the inspection itself. Okay. And then just to finish off, you have a nice role center for your quality manager. And these tiles here, I'm not sure which other role centers you can put it on, but I'm sure it's on a few other role centers if other people in the business need to know what's happening from a quality point of view. That was the run through, so the demo and a little bit of the setup. There's lots of really good information on the Microsoft Learn about how to set this up. And all the data that you've seen here is the standard Microsoft setup data. So if you want to play around with it, create yourself a Cronus company and import the data, and then you'll be able to play around with this. Although some of the examples I've created, I did them myself rather than the standard. Okay, do we have any questions, seeing as we're just about out of time, almost?
Got one question. Rather than a lot, can you specify a specific rotation field?
You would have to create the rotation as either a lot number or a package or a serial number. But yes, effectively, that's what you would do. Your rotations are effectively lot numbers. So you'd have to store them like that. And then, yes, you could select a rotation. Effectively, it's a lot number.
That's all the questions we have.
Great. Well, thank you very much. If there are no more questions, we'll publicize the recording of this, I'm sure, on our website soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.